In order to write good research, we need to read good research. Everything from a research paper for a class, to a journal article, to a thesis, to a doctoral dissertation, we need to find journal articles. And maybe you've already had a teacher or an advisor tell you, yeah, go and find X number of references for your bibliography. But where do we look? In this video, we're going to check out 8 of the biggest online databases where we can find journal articles. First up is DOAC, or the Directory of Open Access Journals. Here you can find articles and journals from all kinds of fields. As I mentioned here, in over 80 languages, 126 countries, more than 11,000 journals, and all of them that don't charge any fees. It's important that we'll see in a different video about what happens when you want to submit your own journal article. For now though, here we can search for any topic you like. Let's take something of relevance right now, and let's look for COVID-19. If we do a search for it, here we see around 54,000 articles to get an idea, and we'll use that as sort of a comparison for each of the databases that we'll check out. DOAC is great because, in general, the articles that you'll find here are in open access, meaning that you can link directly to the journal and read them without having to pay anything or without needing any sort of subscription. So it's a great place to get started. Second on the list, and similar idea, is Google Scholar. Here it's an international database where you can find articles in many languages and backed by Google. But here in the Scholar section, it's mainly looking for academic journals, but also dissertations, books, and even some conference proceedings. So if we do a search here on COVID-19, you can see, like usual in Google, we get a list of automatic suggestions. There are, of course, some websites like the NIH page for the COVID-19 epidemic, but you'll also see many of these have a link off to the side, including some PDF links. This is a great place to be able to not only find some sources, but also directly get the PDFs. They don't always have PDFs available, but we can filter if we only want the ones that do have full text. But here, it's another great place to get started. One thing we should be careful of with these first two is that there aren't really any filters on the quality. They're just trying to index as many publications as possible, so there's no guarantees that what we're reading there is peer-reviewed, for example, that it's gone through some sort of a vetting process. And we also don't know what sorts of requirements the journals have, and if they have their own vetting process. So something to keep in mind. We need to take what we find here with a grain of salt, but it's a great place to get started. From here, we go into some that are semi-free. What I mean is that we can come in without registering, signing in, or anything. We can do a search for a keyword like COVID-19, but some of the features are limited if we don't have any sort of subscription. Like here we've got over 70,000 results, and we'll see many of these are research articles here. Some of them do have the download PDF button available, and they're open access, but some won't. So this is sort of an in-between step. We are getting into the more academic and generally towards peer review in these sorts of databases like Science Direct. It is part of Elsevier, which is related to Scopus, that we'll see here in a little bit. But it does have some limitations if we don't have an account through our institution, our university, for example. But it's still a great option even if we're just using the free version. If we're in the medical sciences, one that we definitely shouldn't leave out is PubMed. Here it's another semi-free in that many of the articles here are in other databases that are paid. We're talking about Medline and related to Scopus. But the good thing here is that if we do a search, it will also give us many options that we can download without having to pay anything. We'll see some of these are listed as free, but some, like the top one here, is not. So if we open the page for it, it will give us the basic information, like the title, authors, and abstract, but we might have to find somewhere else to go to the full text link. Here we do have a full text link available, but not all of the articles in this database will have that full text. So something to keep an eye out for. But definitely two main databases that are more into the academic side, but that do have at least some free use capabilities, meaning you don't need to pay a subscription for them. From here, I want to look at two that are more regional. If you're looking for anything in Latin America, the Cielo project is one of the best out there. This project started in Brazil, has spread to several other countries, as you can see here from the flags, the list here of different Cielo countries, participating countries. You can search here in English, Spanish, or Portuguese and filter your results accordingly, because many of the journals here, English is sort of used as a lingua franca in the academic community, so even though they're Latin American journals, you can still find English results, and we can filter here, and we'll see of the COVID-19 results we have just over 2,000, and we'll see that around half of those are in English, for what that's worth. And if we start adding these up, we might find that it doesn't total the number that we have here is the total search. That's because many of these are available in more than one language. A great thing about Cielo is that basically all of their articles are available in open access, meaning we can just click on a link here. Like if this second one gets our attention, we can click on the EN for English, and it will take us right there where we can read this whole article in English without having to pay anything. Not all the journals have English available, but especially if you speak Spanish or Portuguese, also a lot of great options there. And sometimes the only thing that is available in English is just the abstract, something to keep in mind. But it can be useful for adding a more international piece to our literature review. On a similar line, we've got the Open Air project, which is primarily in Europe, but it also harvests or collects some of the information from some of the others that we've already mentioned, like PubMed and Cielo. So here, the goal is on open access, which means that more than likely, if we find something here, it probably means that we have access to it without needing to pay anything. An interesting plus here is that they don't only include research outcomes, as they call it. I was noticing there has been some outage with this site here right as I'm recording this video, but hopefully by the time you're seeing it, this will be all cleared up. You can also search for projects and even organizations. There's even some data sets available through OpenAir and some of its related projects, where you can go through, review not only the published findings, but even the data behind them. So Cielo and OpenAir are both great options if we're looking to extend our literature review beyond just North America, especially if we want to get into Europe and Latin America. Two great options here. Now we get into the ones we need to pay for. The university where I work includes access to Web of Science, so I'm able to get in there. Web of Science is one of the biggest international databases that is paid. You need a subscription in order to get in. So if your university or other institution has access, definitely worth checking out. Here, Web of Science includes several collections. Their core collection is perhaps their most famous, but they've also been working more in Korean, Russian, and the Cielo index that we were just looking at in Spanish and Portuguese, all that you can easily search just from one interface right here in Web of Science. But here, if we leave it at the Web of Science core collection, do our search for COVID-19 just to get an idea, we're up over 146,000 results, and many options that you can filter all these by. For our last one, actually need to switch over from Brave, the browser that I'm using here based on Chrome, and head over to Microsoft Edge, because there's one thing that we can't do on the browser that we have right now. Here we are with the last one on our list, but definitely not the least. This is Scopus, arguably one of the biggest paid databases for journal articles and conference proceedings in the world. Here I had to switch over to a different browser, not necessarily Scopus's fault, it's more the institution that I have the access through. The login doesn't let me go in through my main browser. But here we've got similar interfaces. If we do a search for our same sample phrase of COVID-19, you can see over 168,000 results. The results here are similar to Web of Science, and in a different video, I'm going to go over the pros and cons, or comparing and contrasting Scopus and Web of Science, as they're two of the biggest out there. But if your institution has a subscription to either one or both of these, they are definitely ones that you should include in your literature review, in your search, because they're some of the most recognized in the world. So definitely worth including. You'll find in both of these, Web of Science and Scopus, most of the resources, the articles and conference proceedings that you'll find are in English, but they do also index some in other languages. But in general, in order to get into one of these databases, you need, or the journal needs, to at least provide the title, the abstract, and the authors list in English and in Roman letters. So that applies especially to Asian languages, for example, that use different forms of writing, because here they're not only going to help you find journal articles, if that's what you're looking for, but they also help you follow publications from different authors. If you find one author that has some really good research on your topic, you can see if they have other articles, that sort of thing. So I hope that these 8 resources have been useful. Let me know in the comments down below if you found another database that you think should be included on the list, and also let me know if you're interested in a little more detail on how to go searching through one of these databases. Hoping to get that into some future videos, but let me know which ones you'd be most interested in finding out more about how to actually go about searching. So, until the next video, this is Michael White from Research TLDR signing off.